The ring does not fall. It spins once in the air above the fire, glinting, and a slick, burned hand snatches it back from the brink. Gollum's shriek cuts through the furnace roar as he claws away from Frodo's broken body, scrambling up black rock while lava spits and the mountain heaves. Above him, the eye flares wide, then falters, confused, while one small, perfect circle of gold gleams in fingers too terrified to let go. If you're into these darker Middle-earth timelines, tap like, hit subscribe so you don't miss the next one, and tell me in the comments, which realm would you stand for if a new shadow rose? Gondor, Rohan, Rivendell, or somewhere stranger? Gollum does not think of realms. He thinks of teeth and fire and falling. He hauls himself onto a narrow ledge, ribs heaving, the ring pressed so hard into his palm it bites the flesh. Frodo lies lower down, sprawled against jagged stone, hand outstretched, his face white with pain and ash. His eyes do not leave the ring. Sam. Frodo's voice is a raw whisper, shredded by screams and smoke. Sam, stop him. Samwise Gamgee is on his knees, clutching the rock with blistered hands as the whole world bucks. He can taste blood and cinders. His master's voice drags him upright. Through the choking haze, he sees Gollum, a hunched silhouette outlined by molten light, cradling the ring and laughing high and cracked as though he has beaten a god. Precious, Gollum croons, kissing it with blackened lips. We saved it, yes we did, from the nasty Baggins, from the fire, from the tricksy Smeagol. Frodo gasps, it's not a command, it's a plea. Smeagol, please. That name cuts through the mad giggles. Gollum flinches. For a heartbeat, pale eyes waver. In that moment, the volcano roars louder. A fresh shudder ripples through the mountain, throwing loose stones. One strikes Gollum's shoulder. He hisses, clutching the ring closer, and the old fear surges back. Fear of losing it, of burning, of Baggins' hands tearing it away, of eye and fire and emptiness. No, he snarls, but the snarl is at himself. No more tricks. No take it from us. We go, we hides, we waits. Precious keeps us safe. He turns, scuttling along the ledge, hunting any path that is not down into flame. Sam sees him move, and all the grief and fury of the past months ignite at once. He lurches forward. You come back here, you villain, he cries, though his voice is nearly lost in the thunder of Mount Doom. You give that back to Mr. Frodo. Gollum glances over his shoulder. He sees a hobbit who has walked through Mordor for love. He sees a gardener with no weapon but a dented sword and a will like iron. He sees death. He also sees Frodo. Frodo is dragging himself up the rock, fingers clutching at cracks that sear his skin. His eyes are not Frodo's eyes. They are dark and hungry, pupils blown wide, fixed on one thing. Sam, Frodo rasps, and he is not begging Sam to stop Gollum. Sam realizes it in an instant, so sharp it might as well be a knife. Frodo is reaching for the ring. For the first time since he set foot in Mordor, Sam hesitates. His heart splits cleanly in two. One half for the friend he loves beyond words, the other for the promise he swore at Rivendell and at every weary step since. The fate of all against the soul of one. A deep, grinding boom reverberates from the bowels of the earth. Cracks spear through the chamber floor, lacing molten light. Heat slams into them, searing. The air smells of brimstone, of old vaporous death. Outside, the dark tower trembles. Upon its pinnacle, the eye of Sauron flickers, narrowing, shifting, searching toward the mountain. There is confusion there, for the will that commands this eye has felt, in the span of heartbeats, exultation, terror, and a sickening lurch of almost loss. The eye sways, torn between battlefield and fire. At the foot of Orodruin, on the ashen slopes, a dozen forms creep and scramble, orcs, lean and desperate, scorched and panicked, fleeing the ruins of the Sammath Naur, driven by one simple order that has burned itself into their skulls over years of service. Guard the mountain, guard the fire, guard the precious. They do not know what the precious is. They have never seen it. But the command clings like a brand. When the mountain started to shake, captains bellowed, whips cracked, and a handful of the hardiest were driven upward toward the doors. Others ran of their own will, though none would admit it, because something in their black blood told them that what lay within the fire mattered more than shying the Nazgul, more than the fear of the eye, more than their own lives. Inside the cracks, Sam makes his choice. He throws himself at Frodo, not to wrestle, not to restrain, but to shield. The rock splits apart under them as a fissure yawns wider, a river of magma surging below. Sam clamps one arm around Frodo's chest, pinning him against his own scorched body, and with the other hand he scrabbles backward, away from the open chasm. "No, Mr. Frodo," he pants, half sob, half prayer. "No, sir, it's done. Let it be done. Give it back, Sam." Frodo wheezes, voice strangled with rage and despair. He claws at Sam's grip with ruined hands. You can't let him. Give it back." Sam feels the bones under his fingers light as kindling. Frodo shakes with fever and strain. The volcano's breath beats around them, hot as a smith's forge. Above, Gollum vanishes into the smoke, clutching the ring as he climbs toward a crack in the ceiling where foul air whistles. "Smeagol!" Frodo screams, his voice cracking. "Smeagol, come back!" The name echoes across fire. Gollum hears it more keenly than the mountain's groans. He does not answer. He has made his choice too. He wedges himself into a jagged tunnel in the rock, following a stench of ancient air. Stone scrapes his back and belly. His fingers, curled tight around the ring, leave streaks of blood on the rock. Every tremor threatens to crush him, but he squeezes through, drawn by the sense of away from fire, away from the hobbits, away from any hands but his own. Behind him, Frodo's last broken cry chases him up into the dark. In the plains of Gorgoroth, the hosts of Mordor and the West clash amid smoke and dust. At the very black gate, under a ragged sky, Gandalf the White sits tall upon Shadowfax, staff blazing. Beside him stand Aragorn, son of Arathorn, king in all but name, Éomer of Rohan, with his hair like a streak of burnished gold, despite the grime Legolas and Gimli, the elf and dwarf, whose friendship is a quiet defiance of ages of mistrust. Around them, an army far smaller than its foe holds its ground by sheer will. They fight in the shadow of certain death because they believe one thing with utter, unquestioning faith. Someone else will finish this, someone small. Gandalf feels the change first. It is not visible, not yet. The sky is still dark. The thunder of the battle still rings, but something in the air, some tightness he had not even known he carried, loosens for a moment, then tightens twice as hard. He looks east. Beyond the gate, over the miles of blasted plain, Mount Doom is a red wound on the horizon. Its smoke boils, its fires glare. The old wizard narrows his eyes as if he could pierce the distance. Aragorn, driving back a hulking orc with a sweep of Andúril, sees him look. Between parries, he follows Gandalf's gaze. His heart, already alight with peril and grim courage, stutters. "What do you perceive?" he calls hoarsely, cutting down another foe that hurls itself at him with a shriek in the black speech. Gandalf does not answer at once. He feels for the ring. He knows its aura, that cold, heavy presence from long years in Middle-earth, from the moment he held it in his hand and bag end and saw the ancient writing flare upon its surface. That presence has always been to the east, bound to the Dark Lord's will. Of late, it has felt different, slipping, drawn away, straying. Now, in this instant, it flares so bright in his awareness that he almost reels. The ring is in the fire, yet not of it. Gandalf's knuckles whiten on his staff. No, he whispers to himself, to the wind, to anyone who might be listening among the powers. He feels it then, like a hand reaching back from the abyss. The eye quivers. In Barad-dûr, deep beneath the blackened stone, Sauron's spirit recoils and stretches like molten glass hammered upon an anvil. He felt the ring's nearness to destruction as a mortal man feels the kiss of a blade. It came so close to severing him wholly that for one blinding moment his attention wavered from every other thing. In that moment, orcs died by the tens of thousands. Nazgûl faltered in their flight. The great beasts of siege went mad, turning on those who drove them. The captains of the West felt hope like a fierce wind in their lungs. Then the ring moved away, not destroyed, not free, not taken by his own hand, stolen, claimed, denied. The wound in Sauron's vast, formless being in flames with outrage. At the Black Gate, the hope that had leapt in human hearts begins to falter, though they do not know why. They only feel that a breath they had almost released is trapped again, burning in their chests. Gandalf lowers his staff a fraction. Something has gone amiss, he says, and there is a weight to the calm in his choice of word, but all is not yet lost. He lies with the skill of long practice. He does not add, "We stand now in shadow deeper than before, for the shadow has been warned." On the slopes of Orodruin, the warning has already reached living ears. Orcs pour toward the mountain doors in a ragged stream, snarling and yelping as the ground shudders. A Nazgûl screams overhead, its fell beast beating at the tortured air, scouring for any sign of the ring-bearer it knows it ought to have found by now. Inside the cracks of doom, Sam drags Frodo toward the path down because there is nothing else he can do. "Hold on, Mr. Frodo," he murmurs, like they are back on the hill in Hobbiton, and Frodo merely stumbles over a root. "Hold on, we'll get out. We'll find some way together." Frodo's eyes are blank now, the hunger in them dulled by pain and exhaustion. He sags against Sam, each breath a rattle. Together he echoes, barely audible, but in his mind another word whispers, "Alone, alone." Without the ring, the absence is worse than any wound. His thoughts spin around the empty place where its weight used to rest upon his breast. Sam can feel it too, this hollowness, as if a piece of the world has been scooped out and misplaced. He does not know why the mountain roars as if angered, if the thing they came to do has not been done. He only knows they are not dead, and therefore must keep moving. Above them, Gollum wriggles like a worm through the gut of the mountain. He emerges at last through a narrow cleft into a higher cavern where the heat is less savage. The air here is thick with stinging smoke, but not lethal. Long ago, molten stone carved this space. Now it lies half collapsed, strewn with sharp slag. Gollum stumbles to his knees. For the first time since his plunge near the brink, he dares to look at the ring. It lies in his charred palm, whole, unmarred, as smooth and bright as ever. The letters that sometimes flare along its band are dark now, but he can feel them like a thrum beneath his skin. His own reflection stares back at him, small and warped. He laughs, not the high manic giggle of before, a low shuddering sound, half sob, half delirium. "We has it," he breathes. "We has it, precious, all ours." Not for Bagginses, not for I. We keeps it, we hides it. Safe, safe. In the heart of that word, safe, lies every cave he ever crept into as Smeagol long ago. Every dark place where no one could find him. He sees himself hidden where no great eye can look, where no elves can shine their cold light, where no cruel hands with whips can reach. He does not yet realize that there is nowhere in Middle Earth the eye cannot now seek. The ring is awake. It has been fearfully near its end and tasted the humiliation of obliteration. It has not known such peril since the last alliance. Survival has sharpened its will. Gollum clutches it tight and slides it onto his finger. The world screams. It is not like before, not the thin, almost pleasant veil of invisibility. The ring is angry. It floods him, hurls him sideways into a realm between sight. For a heartbeat, his body spasms on the rock. Then he vanishes, and the cavern is left to smoke and echo. In that unseen space, Gollum becomes a point of intersection. The eye finds him. It slams into his mind like a storm wind, a vast, searing presence that has no face except that single, lidless pupil burning amid fire. Terror claws through him. His years of muttering fearfully about the eye are nothing compared to this. He is pinned, he writhes, but there is nowhere to crawl. All directions become toward that gaze. Thief! The thought hisses, though no lips move. It is in the very air, in the molten stone, in the fragile bones of Gollum's skull. Thief of my ring, worm, miserable rat in the dark. Gollum whimpers, though no sound comes. Master, he grovels, old habits drowning out newer lies. Good master, Smeagol only keeps it safe, yes. Kept it for you, we did. The eye narrows. It knows lies when it hears them. Yet it also knows use. A mortal may be bent. A mortal may be broken. A mortal may carry things a great power cannot. Places a great power cannot go unnoticed. Sauron has learned one bitter lesson too keenly today. The smallest hands can reach where his gaze did not expect them. He will not neglect such tools again. Keep it, the thought says, a dark, sly caress. Hide it, rat. Hide it from those who would destroy it. Serve me, and you may hold it a while. The ring, nestled around Gollum's wasted finger, pulses with agreement. It, too, desires a bearer. Through a living hand, it can act, can move, can tempt and twist more minds than one. Fear becomes greed again in Gollum's heart, because greed is what he understands. We serves, he stammers, though the enslaving voice feels like hands clawing into his thoughts. We serves the master, yes, precious. We hides from nasty Elvises, from Bagginses, from eyes enemies. Yes, come to me, the command booms. Come, little beast, come to Barad-dûr, there shall you learn to obey. The thought claws a path through ash and stone, marking the way across Mordor in Gollum's mind. Ravines, tunnels, hidden paths he never knew, all opening before his mind's eye like wounds in the land. At the same time, far below, in the Sammath Naur, a different connection snaps. Frodo Baggins lies in Sam's arms as a new trembling shakes the mountain. His hand jerks to his chest again, seeking the phantom chain and the weight that is not there. His lips part in a silent cry. Though he does not wear the ring, something thin and terrible between him and it has been torn. He feels himself truly alone. Not all that bound them is sundered. Scars run both ways, but the ring has turned away. It no longer beckons to him. Its song, once so insistent in his thoughts, goes silent. In that silence lies a grief deeper than losing a limb. It is like waking from a long enchantment to find the world both sharper and emptier. Sam feels Frodo go limp. Mr. Frodo, sir! Panic surges up his throat, high and tight. Him here, Sam, Frodo whispers after a long moment, and his voice is strange. It is not filled with the ring any more. It is filled with utter weariness. Sam lets out a shuddering breath he did not know he was holding. "We've got to move," he says, more steadily this time. "It's no good sitting here to be buried alive." Together, leaning on each other, scraping their way along broken ledges, they begin the descent. Orcs are coming. They feel it before they see them. The rhythm of boots and iron, the harsh clatter of voices raised in argument, the whip snap of a harsh order. Sam's stomach drops at the sound. It is the sound of every terror that haunted their sleep since they entered this land. He draws Sting with a shaken hand. The sword glows faintly blue. Even here, at the very core of Sauron's realm, the elvish blade remembers its purpose. Sam sets his feet and pulls Frodo behind a spur of rock. "Whatever comes," he mutters, "I'll not see you taken. Not while I draw breath." Frodo, who has very little fight left in his limbs, manages a wan smile. "Sam, you've done enough." "Not hardly," Sam answers, his jaw set. The first orc rounds the bend, a hunched shape in corroded mail, skin blistered by the heat. It stops short at the sight of them. Two small, starved figures, one braced with a bright little sword, the other sagging in the shadows of his cloak. "What in thrice blighted—" It starts. Sam moves. He is not a warrior, but he has become something close to one. Sting darts like its namesake, piercing the orc's throat before the creature can bring its scimitar to bear. Hot black blood sprays the rocks and hisses where it hits. The orc drops with a gurgle. Behind it, others roar, shoving forward. They see the body of their comrade, the glimmer of mithril under tatters, the flash of a pale face. Shouts in the black tongue fill the passage. "Hobbits," one snarls. "The halflings! The master wants them alive, alive!" That word is another kind of doom. They rush together. Sam has fought in tunnels before, in Moria and in Shelob's lair, but never like this, with his back literally to the edge of the world. He blocks, parries, stabs. He feels something rip in his shoulder, a hot line of pain, but he holds. Frodo, staggering at his side, manages to shove one orc backward with a desperate thrust. It overbalances, arms pinwheeling, and plummets with a shriek into the fiery gorge. They cannot win. They both know it, but they also know this. As long as they stand, the orcs cannot simply seize them. Gandalf feels this distantly, like a candle guttering behind mountains and stone. On the plain before the gate, the battle veers. Trolls crash into the line of men. Rohirrim horses scream as they go down under hooked blades. The sky dims further as smoke from the mountain thickens. Aragorn fights with the despair of failure, brushing his heel, as yet unnamed. "Hold!" he cries, voice raw, slaying a great chieftain of the Easterlings with one sweeping cut. "Hold, men of the West, for Gondor and Rohan, for Frodo!" The name races along the ranks. For Frodo, for the little hope on which everything hangs, yet hope is never a single thread. In Minas Tirith, up in the houses of healing, a young man with gray eyes turned keen and old before their time stares east from a white balcony. Faramir, steward's son and now steward in all but formal declaration, feels the earth shiver under his feet. He grips the smooth stone rail until his knuckles pale. Beside him, Eowyn of Rohan stands with her arm in a sling, her golden hair stirred by a wind that smells of ash. The city behind them hums and mutters with fear and prayer, the quiet weeping of women, the restless shifting of wounded men, the clink of healers' tools. "Is it ending?" she asks, her voice low. "In some way," Faramir replies, not taking his eyes from the boiling cloud over Orodruin. whether for good or for ill I cannot say. He feels something tugging at him, as he had on that strange day when he watched two halflings march away toward Mordor under a cloud. He remembers letting them go despite all his duty's demands, because a deeper wisdom had spoken in him. He must trust that choice now. He does not know that the halflings stand at this moment back to back against orcs in the mountain itself. Sam's arm grows heavy. His lungs burn. He ducks under a clumsy swing and drives Sting up under a breastplate. The orc topples, wrenching the sword from his grip. Sam stumbles, suddenly weaponless, suddenly small again. Rough hands seize him. He hears Frodo cry out, and that hurts worse than any blow. Sam thrashes, bites, kicks. A mailed fist crashes into the side of his head, bursting stars in his vision. "We got 'em!" An orc snarls triumphantly. "Both of 'em! Take 'em to the mouth! Hell know what to do! Careful, you dung heaps!" Another growls. "If you break 'em too much, well, answer for it." Sam's last clear sight, as they club him stunned and drag him away, is Frodo's face turned toward him, eyes wide, lips forming his name. The mountain swallows them. Behind and above, far out of sight, Gollum scrambles from his hidden exit onto a high, precarious shelf on the exterior of Orodruin. The wind tears at him, hot and furious, flinging cinders into his face. Below, the empty plain of Gorgoroth stretches, crawling with ranks of orcs like ants across an open grave. The eye inside his mind tugs. He must go north, then east, weaving through canyons and over razor ridges that only a creature like him could brave. He must travel by night or under cloud, hugging shadows, hiding from the Tolkien gaze of men at the Black Gate. He clutches the ring close, though it is invisible on his finger, its presence burning like ice in his bones. "We goes to master," he mutters over and over like a charm against fear. "We learns, we grows, we keeps precious. Smeagol will keeps it safe for ever and ever behind every we lies o' me." Far away on the field before the gate, Gandalf's hand tightens suddenly on his reins. He knows now with dreadful clarity that the ring has not been destroyed. He also perceives another line, faint but bright, snaking away from the mountain, a small, wretched consciousness connected to the one. It is moving, it is going, not west, not toward men and elves, but back into the heart of Mordor's power. Sauron has not only held his strength, he has gained a courier for the first time in long years, since before the fall of Minas Ithil. A genuine shiver of dread runs through the wizard. He makes his choice. "Aragorn!" he calls, spurring Shadowfax toward the man who fights like a banner in the storm. "We must fall back." Aragorn looks at him as if he has gone mad. "Fall back? To where?" he demands, lurching aside to avoid a troll's crushing foot. He stabs up, bringing the beast down in a groan of stone and flesh. "We are encircled." "Not yet," Gandalf replies, eyes flashing. The eye is turned inward, not outward, for a moment only. "If we live, we may fight again. If we die here, all is lost." Sound the retreat. There is argument in Aragorn's gaze, but it dies swiftly. He is a warrior, not a fool. He knows when a field is lost. Around them, the men of the west are pressed, their line bowed inward like a sapling under snow. He lifts his sword Andúril, and its flame-bright edge catches what little light breaks through the clouds. "Back!" he bellows, voice carrying far. "Back to the hill! Guard the standards! Steward and king to the rear! They do not flee, they contract." The bright host draws inward toward a low rise beneath the gate, a knoll already slick with blood and trammeled grass. Standards of Gondor and Rohan whip in the sooty air as captains drag their men into a ring, shields turned outward. Arrows fall in black rain. Trolls lumber nearer. Orcs howl in savage joy. They smell a cornered prey. On a nearby ridge, far enough to see the field entire, yet close enough to taste the fear, the mouth of Sauron watches from horseback. His long, pale face is mostly hidden behind a great helm, but his smile is not. His lips are too wide for his skull, his teeth too many for any man. His empty eyes glitter at the sight of men clustered like seeds before a storm. He has not gone forth to parley in this version of the tale. The hobbits never reached his master's eye in time for his cruel jest with mithril shirt and cloak. Instead, he sits in reserve, a blade yet drawn, his mind linked to the will in Barad-dûr. He feels the master's fury through that link, and also his sharpened focus. The ring lives. The thieves will be taken. He licks his lips, tasting the anticipation of torment. "Send more," he murmurs to a nearby captain, gesturing with a long-fingered hand toward the embattled hill. "Break them slowly. The master wishes some to be taken alive." "Which ones?" the orc asks, cringing. "The wizard, the king, the prince of the Riddermark, if he can be found." The mouth's smile stretches. "And if any halflings remain among them, take them. Their kind have meddled enough." He almost laughs at his own words, because even as he says them, news is already racing toward him from the mountain, not in words, but in impressions. Small shapes seized, small cries cut short. Halflings, in the fire. He will see them soon. In Barad-dûr, Sauron spreads his attention across a board now more complex than he had anticipated hours ago. In one hand, he holds the ring, distant but secure, tied to a mind already bending under his thought. In the other, he feels two sparks being dragged toward him. Two hobbits whose resilience, whose astonishing resistance, has nearly undone him. They will be of use. Perhaps they will teach him where he misstepped. The mountain groans again. Deep cracks spider through its flanks, venting gouts of flame. Even in their retreat, the armies feel it. Horses rear. Orcs glance nervously over their shoulders. Aragorn and Gandalf gain the hill with as many as can follow them. The ring closes. Shield presses against shield. Bodies, man, orc, troll, pile at the rim. "Is there no help to come?" cries Legolas, loosing arrow after arrow, each one finding a throat or an eye. His quiver is nearly empty. Gimli, planted by his side with axe red and smoking, grunts. "If this is to be our end, lad," he mutters, "we'll carve deep before the dark takes us." Gandalf raises his staff again. He is not of a mind to die, not yet. There are tricks he has not played, reserves he has not spent. At his nod, the eagles stoop from cloud and smoke, great shapes swooping down to tear at the winged Nazgul, to buffet orcs and trolls with their mighty pinions. For a moment, the sky is alight with feathers and screeches, a storm of wings amid ash. In the houses of healing, a boy on a pallet, Legolas' kinsman Galion, watches through the high window slit as dark shapes wheel. He clutches at the pendant around his neck, murmuring an elvish prayer. A girl from the lower levels, no more than 12, huddles beside him, eyes red from recent tears. "Will they win?" she asks. He opens his mouth to say yes. He closes it again. In the caverns beneath Barad-dûr, Sam awakens to chains. They are not heavy, they do not need to be. One loop around each wrist, another around his ankles, links sunk into black stone. His head pounds with a dull, nauseating ache where the orc's fist struck. He tastes iron and dust. He blinks. The cell is small, barely more than a hole chewed into the tower's base. The air is damp and cold, a knife after Mordor's fire. A pale greenish glow seeps in from somewhere, casting long, thin shadows. Frodo is across from him, similarly bound. Sam's heart stutters at the sight of him. Frodo's eyes are closed, lashes black smudges against his gray face. His wrists bear raw marks where the chains rub. His clothes are in worse tatters, his bare feet filthy and bruised. Yet Sam thinks he has never looked so like himself. The rings. Absence has left him hollow, yes, but also strangely clear. "Mr. Frodo?" Sam croaks. Frodo's eyelids flutter. He looks up. "Sam," he whispers, and his mouth twists into a smile that is both heartbreaking and fiercely relieved. "We're in a fine pickle now." Sam laughs, a choked, strangled sound. "Aye," he answers. "But we're together." "Together," Frodo echoes again, more strongly this time. Above them, far above, Sauron's eye swings for a moment from mountain to tower, from ring-bearer turned servant to prisoner Tjetunist. He allows himself this small satisfaction. They are in his hand. The world outside still fights, still flees, still prays. He will deal with them next. The Nazgul shriek and dive, harrying the eagles, but Sauron does not send them all. One he has called back to the tower. One circles above Barad-dûr now, nosing at the smoke, attuned to a different scent. The faint fear sweat of a twisted little creature making his way toward the gates was something far more precious than any captive. Gollum, for all his wretched speed, takes days to reach the Dark Tower. The script of these days could fill a tale of their own. His narrow escapes from roving bands of orcs, his nights spent clinging to sheer walls as patrols pass below, his muttering bargains with the eye when exhaustion threatens to overwhelm him. We rests, just a little, precious. Move, yes, we moves, we comes. He is driven, the ring would drag him, even if fear did not. While he creeps, the world rearranges itself around his unseen path. At the Black Gate, the men of the West do not all fall. Gandalf's command and the assault of the eagles buy them enough space to form an orderly withdrawal toward the Allied camp far to the west. A journey of blood and stumbling, of rearguard stands and desperate dashes. Many die. Many more would have, had the eye not been half turned inward. They leave the field not victorious, but not annihilated. It is retreat in good order from the very edge of ruin. On the hills beyond, Aragorn reins up at last, his horse lathered, his own mail dented and smeared. Around him, those who survive collapse or slump, weapon tips sinking into the scorched soil. He turns his gaze east one more time. The mountain still burns. The tower still stands. There are no crumbling walls, no sweeping waves of darkness lifting, no great wind blowing the clouds away. The very air feels heavier with malice. What has happened? Éomer coughs, riding up, his helm askew, his eyes wild with fatigue and grieving for the many Rohirrim whose mounts lie dead on the field. We were so close. I felt it. So did I, Aragorn says quietly. Then, more loudly for all to hear, we live. While we live, we will not yield. Sauron has won no final victory today. Gandalf sits silent for a long moment. He knows he must speak. He knows he must decide how much truth these weary hearts can bear. At length, he lifts his head. The quest has failed, he says simply. The wind itself seems to hold its breath. Legolas goes very still. Gimli's grip on his axe slackens. How? Aragorn whispers, the word half a plea. I do not yet know. Gandalf's eyes are hooded. I felt the ring near its unmaking. Then I felt it torn away. It is still in this world. Worse, it is nearer now to its maker. Murmurs run through the camp. A Dunedain ranger curses under his breath. A young soldier from Lossarnoch sinks to his knees, clutching his head. Nearby, Merry Brandy Buck, who in this version rode with the Rohirrim and slew the Witch King alongside Éowyn, and survived but with wounds still tender, staggers where he stands by a cook fire. The cup in his hand falls, spilling water into the dust. Frodo, Merry whispers, his cousin Pippin, armor of the guard of the citadel, dented and smeared, turns pale as chalk. We can go in after him, can't we? Pippin stammers, looking from Gandalf to Aragorn with desperate hope. Strider? Gandalf? Like we did in Moria? Well, take some men and go sneaking, and Gandalf's look stops him cold. Even if we had the strength and the numbers and a path. The wizard says softly, the ring is not a trinket stolen from a dragon's hoard that we may reclaim at leisure. Now that Sauron knows how nearly he was undone, he will not let it out of sight easily again. So, it's over. Merry's voice shakes with something too big for him. We lost. Gandalf straightens in the saddle. His eyes are very bright. Nothing is over, he answers. The game is changed. The enemy you face now has been wounded, though not in body. He has learned fear. He has learned the danger of the small and the weak. He will move more swiftly and more cruelly because of it. That is a terror and a chance. A chance? Aragorn repeats, half incredulous, while he reshapes his plans around his precious trinket, while he bends his servants more tightly to his will. Others may act, not to destroy the ring. For that path, I fear, is closed to us, but to endure, to deny, to shelter what light we can from the shadow's vast hand. The words ring hollow even to him, yet he must say them, because the alternative is despair, and despair is Sauron's ally. Far away, in the White City, Faramir stands in the Hall of the Kings and receives hurried, broken tidings from errand riders and wounded captains. He hears of retreat and ruin. He hears of survival. He does not yet hear of Frodo and Sam taken. But in the night that follows, he dreams. He dreams of a tower of shadow with a single eye blazing and two tiny sparks of light bound in chains at its root. When he wakes in the pre-dawn gloom, Éowyn sleeping beside him at last after long vigils, tears are on his face. "What did you see?" she asks, touching his cheek. "Not what is," he says slowly, feeling for the right words, "but what may be, if we falter." He does not share the details. He only holds her hand more tightly, as though she herself is a candle he must guard. In Barad-dûr, days after the battle at the Black Gate, Gollum is brought before the Dark Lord. He scrabbles on the slick black stone floor of a high inner hall, nails leaving faint scratches that will vanish with the next utterance of his master's displeasure. A chain is on his neck now, more for form than need. The ring on his finger binds him more securely than any iron. Around the vast circular chamber, whispers seep from hooded figures and statues that are not entirely stone. Barad-dûr's heart is not merely a place, but a presence. Above Gollum, a towering form looms, not fully incarnate, but given shape enough for fear. A tall, man-like shadow in black armor, helm adorned with cruel spikes, hands gloved in gauntlets that seem more claw than hand. The eye burns behind it, manifest through it. Gollum lies flat, groveling, eyes squeezed shut. "You have served," the voice says, filling the chamber without need of lungs. "Ill and well, you hid my ring for long years. You kept it from my hand, but you brought it near doom. You let it fall into danger you cannot fathom." Gollum whines, curling in on himself. "Master, forgive us," he begs. "They tricked us, they did. The Bagginses, the wizard, the Elveses. We was hurt. We was hungry. We didn't mean—" "Silence," Sauron commands. The word drives Gollum flat, his breath knocked from him. A long pause. "You will not be destroyed," Sauron continues at length. You are too useful. You will be bound. You will wear my ring under my eye. You will go where I send you, crawl through keyholes where my servants in armor cannot pass. You will listen in dark corners where light cannot reach. You will bite those I mark for you and carry my whispers into their blood. Gollum shivers. He dares once to lift his eyes. There is no mercy there to appeal to, only a vast, cold, unending hunger that makes the ring's old call seem like a child's plea for sweets. He clings instead to one thing. We keeps it, he mutters frantic, as if to shore up some crumbling wall inside him. We keeps precious. It stays with us. No one takes it, not even. He cannot finish. Sauron's helm tilts. You will hold it, the Dark Lord says, a terrible amusement curling through each word. You will think yourself its master, even as you become mine. In time, there will be no Sméagol and no Gollum, only ring and eye and voice. Is this not what you desire? To never again be parted from your precious? The ring warms on Gollum's finger, as if agreeing. Gollum swallows. Yes, he whispers, because what else can he say? Yes, master, we wants it, always. Then rise, slave. The command comes not as a shout, but as a simple statement of order. We have much to do. The world will not conquer itself. The world outside feels the first touch of that new will like a chill. Summer never fully comes to lands near Mordor that year. Dark clouds hang, not in the thick, choking blanket of utter smog that once covered the dark land, but in ragged veils that seem always to gather upon any bright horizon. In Ithilien, the trees that had begun to grow green again under Gondor's cautious reclaiming tremble as ash drifts on the wind. Faramir leads rangers through those woods with a double gaze, one eye always east. Éowyn rides beside him, armor lighter now, her sword more symbol than daily tool, yet never wholly set aside. They move through groves where laughing children not long ago played at being riders. Their wooden swords battered against each other. The children are inside now watching the sky. What does he do? Éowyn murmurs one evening as they pause by a ruined outbuilding, its stones half swallowed by ivy and grass. Why does he not strike at once? If he has won so much, he has not won all, Faramir answers. Our allies still stand. The dwarves hold their halls. The elves keep their havens. Even we remain, tattered though we are. He must be wary now more than before, and he reshapes his tools. He does not know how right he is. In the dungeons of Barad-dûr, Frodo and Sam learn what reshaping means. At first, it is simple neglect with edges. They are given food just enough to keep them alive, water brackish and metallic. Orcs amuse themselves by jabbing them through the bars with spears, by tossing pebbles and watching the halflings flinch. They taunt them with tales of battles won, cities burned, rivers choked with corpses. Gondor's white stone runs red. A Snagga jeers one day, pressing its warty face close to the iron lattice. We heard the captains talking. Your Kinglin and that witch queen of horse lords, they'll come crawling on their bellies soon, begging for mercy. Sam spits back as best he can, though his mouth is dry. You don't know them at all, he growls. Strider and Lady Éowyn beg mercy of you. Not until pigs fly over Mordor and sing elvish songs. The orc snarls and jabs him in the ribs hard enough to bruise. Frodo watches, half there. He feels time differently now. The ring had stretched his days, made each moment sharp, and etched its absence makes them blur. A smear of hunger and cold, and Sam's voice keeping him anchored. Sometimes he wakes thinking he is still in Bag End, hearing the kettle whistle, feeling the weight of the chain under his shirt. He reaches for it in his mind. Nothing answers. He dreams, once, of a pool under dim, greenish light, and a wretched face hovering above the water, talking to itself. In the dream, he says Smeagol's name, and the face looks up, eyes clearing for a heartbeat. Then a great shadow falls across the water, and the pool goes black. He wakes with tears on his face. Sam pretends not to see because his own cheeks are wet, and he must be the strong one. After neglect comes attention. They are taken, one by one at first, to a different chamber. There, invisible fingers press at their minds, a vast curiosity mingled with anger. Sauron wants to know how it was possible. How could a hobbit carry the ring into the very fire and be on the brink of casting it away? How did the fellowship form? What made these short-lived, weak creatures resist when kings and wraiths fell? He does not question with words. He does not need to. He reaches into memory. Frodo clutches tatters of his mind like a man hanging from a cliff, every scrap of song and story in him suddenly a shield. He thinks of the Shire, green fields, the party tree, the smell of freshly baked bread, the sound of children laughing on the Bywater Road, the feel of warm sun on bare feet. The Dark Lord pulls at these images, puzzled, repelled. Why do these simple things hold such power for this mind? Why does their recall stiffen his will against command? Sam is harder for him still. When Sauron reaches for Sam's fear, he finds it. Fear of spiders, fear of dark, fear of losing Mr. Frodo. But beyond and beneath it is something Sauron has tasted rarely in all his long existence. Love that does not want, that does not barter. He presses harder. Sam endures. Can you see it? Sauron's thought hisses once, curious. Do you feel what it would be to wear it? To rise above all those you have served? To make gardens bloom where you will? To blast deserts where you despise? To never be hungry again? Sam, his teeth clenched hard enough to ache, answers aloud, though no physical ears are there. They've seen what it does, he grates out. I carried it a little ways. I saw myself as big as a mountain, ordering and destroying and thinking it was all for a good cause. That's not gardening. That's burning the world to plant one nasty tree. The pressure withdraws with a hiss, surprised, almost amused in a cold way. You are a stubborn weed, the vast mind observes. You may yet be of use as fertilizer, if nothing else. He learns. They do not break. He turns his attention elsewhere, for he has other projects. Gollum's training is quick and vicious. The creature is taken to pits and labyrinths under the tower, where the air is thick with old poison. There he is told to hide from hunters with keen noses and keen eyes, to evade wargs and uruks and hulking trolls. Each time he is found, he is punished. Each time he evades, he is rewarded with raw fish, with a dark corner, with a caress of the ring's mental pat on his mind. He develops new tricks. He can cling upside down for hours without moving. He can slow his breath until even keen-eared elves might miss it. He can bite through leather, through sinew. Sauron whispers to him, not constantly, but often enough to keep him in line. North, the voice says, painting a picture of the Carrack and the old paths he once followed. There are dwarves and men there who trouble my allies in the misty mountains. You will listen. You will find the cracks in their walls. West, it says another time, and Gollum sees white shores and gray havens, tall ships and taller elves with hair like stars. There are harbors yet open to my enemies. You will slither beneath their quays and listen for the sound of oars. South, and he shivers at the memory of heat and jungle, of dark-skinned men with bright eyes and golden collars far beyond Mordor's usual reach. There are realms that have not yet chosen a side. You will whisper in their dreams. Gollum goes where he is told, because there is no going anywhere else. He clutches the ring, now rarely leaving his finger, except when Sauron's will demands it. It whispers to him too, sometimes not in words but in sensations. A swell of triumph when a secret overheard leads to a slaughter, a cold delight when he brings back some shiny trinket or rumor. Through him, a new web of espionage spreads. Mordor's knowledge sharpens. Sauron begins to understand that conquering by brute force is only one branch of a tree. He has always known this in part. His dealings with the Númenóreans in the forging of the Rings of Power were testament. But the near loss at Mount Doom has burned the lesson deep. He refines his new craft. In Harad, a prince with doubts about the Shadow's alliance wakes from a nightmare of choking on ash and sees, for a heartbeat at his window, two pale eyes watching from the dark. The next day, his counselors approach him with news that a caravan of his friends has been waylaid by Gondorian rebels. The truth is more tangled. Sauron's servants have orchestrated these events, feeding both sides fears and grievances. In Dale, at the rebuilt gates of Erebor, a trader whispers of strange lands beyond Rhûn, where Sauron's gold now buys loyalty. A young dwarf, curious and restless, wonders if he should go see, should carry news back to King Dain. A thin shadow listens from the rafters. Gollum does not understand the full tapestry he moves within. He does not care. He crawls through cracks, bites ankles, rumors, whatever his master wills, so long as he is allowed to sleep with the ring curled against his chest. He does not know that the ring, even now, is thinking beyond them both. Time passes. Years, perhaps, in the reckoning of men. Though in the tale as we tell it now, we let them slide by as the camera of the world pulls back, showing borders shift and lines of march lengthen. The West does not fall in a night. Aragorn is crowned King Elisar in Minas Tirith, in a day of muted joy, less radiant than in the tale we know, but still bright amid the growing dusk. The white tree blooms under a sky veined with dark cloud. Trumpets sound, the people cheer, some from hope, some from habit, some from desperation. Arwen still comes, walking from the north in her gray mantle, the light of the Eldar dimmed but not extinguished in her eyes. She sees more clearly than most what future awaits if Sauron's star continues to wax. Yet she chooses, as she chose before, to bind her fate to this man, to this city, to these fragile lives. They marry under banners that flutter a little less joyously in a wind that smells faintly of rain and ash. In her private thoughts, Arwen sees two possible Minas Tiriths, one white and fair, under summer sun, one shadowed, its walls hung with black banners bearing the red eye, its people cowed. She walks the line between them every day. Elessar's reign is not one of peace. He spends as much time in armor as on his throne. He leads sorties to Ithilien, to the Black Gate, to the passes of Cirith Ungol and the Morgul Vale. He orders the refortification of Osgiliath as not only a bridge, but a bastion. He sends emissaries to Rohan, to Dale, to the Woodland Realm, to Lorien and Rivendell, even to the distant Blue Mountains where scattered dwarves, delving for mithril, mutter of old grudges. His message is simple: stand together or fall one by one. Some heed. Theoden King is dead in this timeline, as in the true one, fallen on the Pelennor. Éomer sits upon the throne of the Mark, fierce and loyal. Rohan remains Gondor's staunchest ally, its riders patrolling the Bold and the Brownlands, watching for signs of orc warbands. slipping through old, lesser-known passes. Dain Ironfoot, king under the mountain, sends word that Erebor stands ready, its gates shut to any emissary of Sauron, regardless of bribe or threat. Dwarven messengers travel now with more wariness, for tales have reached their ears of someone or something lurking along the highways, eavesdropping in shadows where no one stands. In Lorien, the golden wood dims. Galadriel, who in a brighter world would have departed west, lingers. She stands upon her high flets and feels the press of Sauron's will more keenly each year. His eye has not forgotten her. Once they contended thought to thought across leagues, and she refused his offer of the ring, seeing that in accepting she would become a dark queen no less terrible. Now she senses his mind not only as a remote blaze, but as a web of small tendrils touching many lands. She tastes one of those tendrils upon the Anduin when a strange little ripple disturbs the water. A fish leaps for a heartbeat. She glimpses two pale eyes peering over a rock. She casts out her thought. Smeagol, the mind recoils like a snake struck. Behind it rises a vast shadow. Laughing, Galadriel withdraws. She knows then that Gollum lives, that he serves as Sauron's creeping hand. She also knows that any attempt to seize him would reveal too much of her own remaining strength. She must husband her power. She must wait. In Rivendell, Elrond Halfelven paces his library under moonlight. He has sent his sons, Elladan and Elrohir, on many rides these last years as messengers and border guards. They return with tidings of skirmishes, of lands once safe, now troubled by spies, of men tempted with easy victories if they'll only look away from one small crime here, one enslaved village there. Elrond's own heart is torn. The call of the sea grows stronger. The time of the elves is ending, whether Sauron triumphs or no. To linger is to fade. To depart is to abandon Middle-earth to men, and to the shadows rising if men cannot withstand him. In the original history, the destruction of the ring marked a kind of ordained closure. The three rings' power faded, the age turned, and departure, while sorrowful, was correct. Here there is no such clean turning. The three still bear power. Vilya upon Elrond's hand, Narya upon Gandalf's, and Nenya upon Galadriel's still hold at bay decay and despair. They could, if used fully, carve out citadels of light, lasting centuries more. They could also draw Sauron's wrath like a beacon. Elrond lays his hand over Vilya. "I swore once," he murmurs to the empty hall, "that I would decide no more for others whether they sail or stay. Yet if we go, what succor remains?" He thinks of Frodo. He has not seen the Hobbit since he sent him forth on the quest. In dreams sometimes he sees curly hair matted with blood, sees eyes once bright, now shadowed. He cannot say if these are true visions or his own guilt made into nightmare. In Minas Tirith, Gandalf clads himself in gray again. Not literally, he still wears white, but a grayness settles on his shoulders, a knowledge that what he could do openly is now constrained. He spends hours hunched over maps with Aragorn and Faramir, tracing supply lines, guessing where Sauron will strike next, warning of subtlety as well as siege. He also spends hours in a high chamber alone, eyes closed, mind ranging. He probes Sauron's mind in cautious touches, feeling for shifts. He withdraws quickly each time, for the eye's attention burns. He feels Gollum scuttle here and there. He feels the mockery and Sauron's amusement at having turned one of their own tools. He feels the ring's gloating pulse whenever it corrupts a minor officer, a chief of men, a petty lord who says one day, "Perhaps a little cruelty is necessary if it secures my people." He also feels Frodo and Sam, faint but unbroken. They remain in the dungeons. Sauron has not killed them. He toys with them still, but less frequently. He has gleaned much of what he wanted from their memories. Now they are objects of curiosity, of experiment, of slow-wrought revenge. His orcs have learned that too much torment breaks them into uselessness, so they dole it out like a miser, interspersed with long stretches of boredom. Sam and Frodo cling to those stretches. They talk when they are able. They recall Shire recipes in excruciating detail. How much butter goes into Mrs. Cotton's berry tarts. How hot the oven must be for Mr. Boffin's seed cakes. They recite bits of old stories Bilbo once told them, distant tales of dragons and trolls and silly tookish escapades. They sing, very softly, when no one listens. Sam hums the lay of Gilgalad painfully, for he heard it only once, but he insists on trying, because anything that speaks of someone who once withstood Sauron is a comfort. Frodo makes up verses about gardens under shadow that yet bloom. They do not know what good this does. They only know that each day they do these things, they remain themselves. In the 4th or 5th year after the Black Gate, when men in Minas Tirith have begun to call this the Long Watch, and children have grown up knowing only a world with a dark horizon, something changes. A Nazgul comes to Barad-dûr with tidings. Lorien is emptying. Elves have been seen leading long lines of their kind northward and westward toward the Grey Havens. The Golden Wood's light is dim. The Lady's power ebbs. Sauron considers. He has not wasted troops on full scale. Assault of the Elven Havens, not yet. He has been content to let time, his old ally, do the work. Now, he thinks, perhaps it is time to push. He does not wish to destroy the elves entirely. Some he would preserve, twisted as beautiful ornaments in his court, as unwilling smiths and lore masters bound to his will. But he will not let their havens stand as beacons. Northwest, he murmurs to Gollum, sending the thought across leagues into whatever hole the wretch currently occupies. Follow the fleeing elves. Find where they gather. There is someone among them I would see. One last time. Gollum hisses. He does not relish drawing that near to tall cold ones with their piercing eyes. But the ring on his finger tightens like a constricting band of iron. He obeys. Across Middle-earth, this movement of one small creature and one vast will produces ripples. Galadriel, standing on a high flet for perhaps the last time, feels the eye brush her lightly. She smiles, very slightly. So, she says in her mind, not in fear, but in grim welcome, "You look this way at last." She has made her choice. She will not sail. Elrond at the Havens feels it too. He has brought Arwen's brothers and many of his people to the ships, intending to depart, torn though he is. The straight road calls him. Valinor waits, a promise of rest. Yet he looks back at the fading line of trees that shield Lorien, and something in him recoils. We leave them to this? Elladan asks quietly. Following his father's gaze, Elrohir's jaw clenches. We cannot fight this shadow forever, he says. Our time is past. Is it not better to pass while something still stands? Elrond's fingers flex on Vilya's band. Once, long ago, in the War of the Last Alliance, he stood before the mountain with Isildur and begged him to cast the ring into the fire. He knows what his younger self would say now. Fight, stay, redeem that failure. His older self is tired. I do not yet know, he answers. And until I do, we wait. The ships rock gently against their moorings. The sea sighs. In Gondor, rumors spread that the elves are abandoning Middle-earth. Men mutter in taverns and in barracks. Some see it as betrayal. They've had enough and they run, leaving us to the wolves. Others as inevitability. They belong elsewhere. This is not their war. Aragorn, hearing these words, feels a fissure open between peoples he had tried to weave together. He calls a council. There are fewer around his table now than at the height of the war. Some chairs belong to the dead. Yet there are also new faces. Young captains raised from common ranks. A woman of Lossarnoch who led a village's defense so bravely, she now commands more. Gandalf is there, silent, smoking a pipe that smells of the South Farthing, though there is none left to be had. Faramir stands near him, Éowyn at his side, their shared glance a quiet strength. "We cannot count on the Eldar," Aragorn says plainly. "We thank them for all aid they have given, and if any remain to fight, we will welcome them. But we must not build our hopes on the powers of others. This is the age of men, for good or ill." "What of the halflings?" someone asks, a young general who has never seen one, only heard tales. The room falls still for a heartbeat. Aragorn closes his eyes briefly. "We do not know," he says. "They were taken into the Black Land. Whether they live or died there, we cannot say." Pippin, at the far end of the table, swallows hard. He has sat in battle councils before, but never has he felt so small and so fiercely needed. Merry grips his arm under the table, a steadying pressure. "They're not dead," Sam would say if he could hear. "Not while I've still got breath." In truth, Frodo and Sam do live. Their hair is whiter now, not from age, for hobbits age slow, but from stress, from hunger, from the pall of Sauron's gaze. Their faces are lined in ways no Shire folk should be, yet their eyes, when they look at each other, still hold a glint that even Barad-dûr cannot stamp out. One day, unexpectedly, their cell door opens and an orc barks at them to come. They exchange a glance. Sam tenses, ready to fight if he must, though he knows how it would end. Frodo lays a hand on his arm. "Wait," he murmurs. They are brought, stumbling, through corridors of black stone into a larger chamber than any they've seen. It is not the great throne room where Gollum once groveled. It is a lower hall, open at one end to a sheer drop, where red light glows faintly. There, before the drop, stands a raised dais. Upon it, a tall chair of dark metal. Sauron does not sit in it. He does not need thrones. But he manifests a presence nearby, a coalescing of shadow like smoke drawn into a form, vaguely manlike, helm and armor hinted in dim lines. Gollum is there too, crouched off to one side, chain on his neck, the ring gleaming on his finger. His eyes dart between Sauron and the hobbits, between master and past. "Behold," Sauron's thought rolls through the room, "the ones who nearly unmade me." He speaks not only to them, but to others. From shadowed alcoves, captains of men in black and scarlet step forth. A Haradrim general with gold rings in his beard, an Easterling prince with tattoos curling on his brow, a black Númenórean, descendant of those who once ruled Umbar. They have sworn to Sauron willingly or under duress over the last years. They are curious to see the foes who bedeviled their lord, not great warriors, but small, thin creatures with chains on their wrists. "You would show us this?" the Haradrim asks, lips curled in faint disdain. "To what end?" "They are vermin. Yet such vermin nearly undid what you serve," Sauron replies, amused. "Learn from them. See how close the small came to overturning the great. Underestimate no one." He turns his attention more keenly to Frodo. "You have scars I would show them," the voice murmurs, with intimate malice. "Scars of the ring, scars of my creatures. Stand, ring-bearer." Frodo stands because if he does not, orcs will force him to. He straightens his back as much as he can, which is more than some might in his place. He lifts his chin. His empty hand clenches at his side. "Do you regret?" Sauron asks. "Do you wish you had taken the ring for your own at the last, when you stood upon the fire?" Frodo's breath catches. He remembers. He remembers his own voice crying, "The ring is mine." He remembers the eruption of triumph, of sickly, exultant relief. He remembers the feel of it on his finger, the sudden nearness of the eye. He remembers losing it to teeth and claws. "Sometimes," he says quietly, "in the darkest watches of the night, when I cannot sleep, I think, if I had taken it and fled, instead of going to the fire, would I be here now? Would Sam be here, or would we have died quickly in some ditch far from your sight?" His mouth twists. But then I recall what it whispered to me, what I became in my own mind when I wore it, even a short while. I see again that great swollen Sam towering over Mordor in his fancy. That's not us. That's not what we were made for. Sam flushes, startled that Frodo knows of that vision, ashamed of it still. Sauron feels the echo of it and laughs, a chill rumble. "You were made for nothing," he says. "You are accidents of mud and chance. I am purpose. I am vision given form. You do not know what you were made for." "Maybe not," Sam cuts in, surprising everyone, including himself. "But I know what I chose." He straightens as Frodo did. "I chose to walk with Mr. Frodo to the end of the world. I chose not to put that thing on again when I could have. I chose to see your big eye and say, 'No, thank you.' That's more choosing than you've done in an age, by the sound of it. You've been chasing your own tail so long you don't see nothing else." The orcs bristle, snarling. Gollum flinches, torn between fear and something like grudging admiration. The human captains shift. They are not immune to such courage. Some sneer. Others feel a prickle under their collars. Sauron regards Sam. If he has any admiration, he does not show it. "You will choose nothing again without my leave," he says, voice flat. "Yet your stubbornness is instructive. These small acts of defiance are the embers from which great flames once rose. I quenched those flames long ago. I will quench these too, not with swiftness, but with patient ash." He extends a metaphorical hand. He touches their minds again, but more gently this time, showing instead of seizing. He shows them fields in Gondor turning to dust under a dimming sun as he withholds rain with his will. He shows them Rohan's horses dying of pestilence conjured in its grasslands. He shows them Lorien's trees blackening as an invisible rot creeps up their bark. He shows them the Shire, Frodo's beloved Shire, under a different kind of rule than Saruman's petty tyranny. Not merely ugly, but twisted. Party tree cut down and burned to feed forges making weapons for distant wars. Hobbit holes carved into barracks. Hobbits themselves marching in rows, drilled, timed, their laughter bayoneted out of them. "This is the world you would have averted," he says, and failed. The images sear. Frodo's knees buckle. Sam makes a strangled sound. The gathered men shift again, some with dark satisfaction, some with unease. "You cannot stop me now," Sauron says, "but you will watch. That is my gift to you." He turns his attention outward, leaving them gasping. In truth, his power is not so effortless. To wither crops across nations, to conjure plagues, to blacken forests, these things cost even him. The ring is back, yes, but it is not yet fully reintegrated. It is on a living hand, not chained upon his own, and through that hand he must filter some of his power, so he is more selective. He chooses pressure points. In the Brown Lands, he sends a sickness that blights what few hardy weeds have begun to reclaim the desolation, lest Rohan think to pasture horses there in numbers. In Ithilien, he sends more subtle rot, a wasting fungus that creeps among the roots of orchards the Gondorians are planting, forcing them to spend time and manpower in constant vigilance. In Mirkwood, now carefully being renamed Greenwood the Great by Thranduil's hopeful court, he stills certain streams, draws spiders from deeper hearts of the wood to harry the edges of men's farms. None of these acts are overt enough to be declared acts of war in some minds. They are misfortunes, perhaps, or ill luck, or the land's own woundedness. Those who know better, Gandalf, Galadriel, Elrond, grimly see the pattern. The land itself is his battlefield now. Gandalf says once to Aragorn beneath the budding branches of the White Tree, not just walls and gates. He need not march in with armies to choke you. He may do it inch by inch, root by root. Then we plant more trees, Aragorn replies, jaw tight. We dig more wells. We build storehouses and share their grain between realms. We make it so that when one land is struck, another feeds it. He thinks in alliances now not just of swords, but of seed. The war becomes one of endurance, not great clashes every season, but drawn-out sieges of hunger and morale. Mordor sends raids, spies, small but vicious pushes. Gondor and her allies repel, patch, mend. In the north, dwarves fight off orc excavations that seek old paths under the mountains. In the south, Harad and Khand sway like tall grasses between Sauron's gold and Gondor's slowly building trust, each prince choosing in his heart whether to welcome emissaries from the Eye or from the White City, and always in the background one bent figure scuttles from crack to crack, carrying whispers. Gollum begins to change in ways even Sauron does not entirely dictate. The more he uses the ring under direct instruction, the more it wraps him. His moments of Sméagol voice grow rarer. Sometimes, in a dark culvert beneath a road where caravans pass overhead, he will catch himself reaching for a fish and pause, feeling only the ring's cold approval at his stealth. Not any simple hunger. He looks at his reflection once in a puddle and sees not the old, long-nosed, thin-lipped creature, but something even more attenuated. Eyes like pits, skin like stretched parchment over bone. He hisses and draws back. "We still Sméagol," he whispers desperately to himself. "We still us. Wes not only him." Of course, the Eye purrs in his head, indulgent. "You are my special one, my Sméagol, my Gollum, my bearer." He clutches that title, bearer. It is the last tatter of identity he has, and it is itself a chain. One night, in the ruins of an old watchtower on the borders of Enedwaith, Gollum creeps close to an encampment of men. They are rough folk, half bandit, half herdsman, their allegiances fluid. Mordor has been courting them with trinkets and threats. Gondor has sent rangers with promises of trade and protection. A young woman stands watch at the edge of the camp, spear in hand. Gollum listens to her hum a song under her breath, low and tuneless. It reminds him horribly of Sam's, muttering as he cooked by a tiny fire near the Black Gate once. He inches closer, compelled by some compulsive need to see faces, to hear voices that are not orders. The ring on his finger thrums. "Bite her," Sauron's thought whispers lazily. "Just a scratch. Let my mark into her blood. Through her, I will taste this tribe's heart." Gollum bares his teeth. His whole body shakes. In that moment, a memory shudders up from depths even Sauron's plundering could not entirely erase. Frodo's voice on the stairs of Cirith Ungol saying, "I do not wish to hurt you, Sméagol. I only wish to help you." He hesitates. The woman shifts, Sensing something, her gaze sweeps the darkness. If she looks just right, she might glimpse a shimmer, a distortion. Gollum backs away. Coward, the eye hisses. Worm. Did you think to choose? He cringes, hands over his head, as pain lashes through his skull. Not physical, but a torment of raw images. Mountains crumbling on him, waters drowning him, white light scorching him. He convulses silently. He will bite the next one. He will not resist again. Yet something very small has happened. The ring, observing this, learns too. Its greatest triumphs have always hinged on offering a choice, an apparent mercy or gift, leading its bearers to damn themselves. It sees in Gollum's stuttered refusal an echo of its near loss. This host is not ideal. He is too broken, too hunched, too fearful. It yearns for another, perhaps one of those men in black and scarlet, perhaps one of the proud elves who still dare to wield the three, perhaps someone who will take it not under Sauron's eye, but under the banner of their own noble intent. It begins to slither in thought at the edges of its master designs. Sauron notices nothing. In Minas Tirith, a child is born to Aragorn and Arwen, a son, as in the true tale, Eldarion. He grows under shadowed skies, learning to walk in corridors where torches burn at midday sometimes. Yet he also learns to laugh in gardens his father stubbornly keeps watered and grassed, under trees that bear fruit, even as blights ravage fields elsewhere, thanks to careful tending and perhaps a touch of Nenya's aid sent quietly from Lorien. He hears of Frodo and Sam as children once heard of Beren and Luthien as legends. They walked into the fire itself, his tutors say. They failed, others mutter more cruelly. And we pay the price. Arwen does not soften those tales. She tells him of her own choice and of its cost. One chooses not only for success, she says, holding his small hand as they walk along the high wall. One chooses because the choice is right, even if it fails. Frodo did not fail in his choosing, only in his strength, and no one, my son, could have borne that burden further. He nods solemnly. Though he does not yet fully understand, he looks east at the red glare and clenches his small fists. I will finish it, he whispers to himself once in the dark, in the way children vow impossible things. Somewhere in the depths of Barad-dûr, Frodo shivers. He has felt something then, a tug like a thread connecting him to a future he will never see. He and Sam grow older. They do not see the sun except as a faint wash of light through cracks high above certain corridors. They mark time only in their bodies' aches and the changing of guards' faces. Yet their minds range wider. They talk now not only of the Shire, but of the great world they once walked through. Do you remember Lorien, Sam? Frodo asks one dim hour when Sam is cleaning a cut on his arm with a scrap of not filthy cloth. That I do, Sam answers, a soft wonder in his tone despite their surroundings. The way the light was, like the inside of a sunflower, but turned to silver. I never thought I'd see trees like that. Not if I gardened 1,000 years. I dreamed of it last night, Frodo says. But the trees were dimmer, and there was a shadow on the grass. Well, that's only Mordor getting into your sleep, Sam says firmly. Shadow can't get into Lorien. Not proper, not while the lady stands. He is wrong, in part. Shadow can touch even Lorien now, if not in the crude way it once did before the great river. At the borders of the Golden Wood, orcs skulk, sniffing the air. They do not yet dare assault. They feel an unease there still, a presence that looks back. Galadriel walks among her trees, her hair like captured starlight gone a little dimmer. She touches a Malorn's smooth trunk. Nenya, she murmurs to the ring she wears, hidden. We have held long. How much longer? The ring does not speak, but its answer is in the way leaves above do not yet blacken, in the way grass underfoot remains green, even as ash drifts from afar. She thinks of Frodo. She has seen him in her mirror, though not clearly. She has seen him bound in dark, and Sam beside him. She has seen them endure. She lifts her gaze to the east. I cannot unmake him, she says, speaking of Sauron. I have refused that road, yet I can deny him one last thing, the story he desires. He desires a tale of crushing, of swift despair. She will not give it. She sends messengers north and west, not with pleas to sail, but with invitations to stay. Some elves heed her, choosing to linger with her in a fading realm. Others go, unable to bear more loss. The balance of light and dark in Middle-earth shifts, slow and grinding. We could trace every small turn, every border skirmish, every treaty signed in dim halls lit by wary candles. But the tale tightens now toward a final knot, because even in a lingering war, there come points where strands cross, irrevocably. The first such knot is this. Gollum is sent west once more, this time with a clear, piercing instruction. Find the Shire, Sauron says at last. Find the land from which these halflings came. See if any more of their kind will trouble me. Mark it. Gollum flinches. The word Shire lands in him like a thrown stone. He knows that name. Even under Sauron's years of scraping, he has not forgotten fields and fences, onions stolen and eaten raw, Bagginses and their windows glowing warm in the hill. He creeps north and west, past the eaves of Lorien, skirting the Anduin, crossing the old paths he once knew. He mutters to himself more than ever now, they hates us there. He grinds out. They would kill us if they sees us, nasty Shire folk. Nasty hobbitses. Made us fall, they did. Made us burn. We should burn them. Bite them, the eye suggests, almost idly, just one. Let the poison in. See how merrily their songs turn to screams. He reaches the borders. The Shire is not as it was. It bears scars from Saruman's brief tyranny in the true tale, such that, in this world, some are deeper. Sharky's ruffians came and were driven out, but without Frodo to counsel mercy, the hobbits were harsher. They hung some, they exiled others. The party tree stump still stands, not yet uprooted. New plantings sprout around it, but they are small, struggling. Hobbiton is quieter, more watchful. Gollum crouches under an old hedge, watching a familiar lane. A hobbit lad runs by, towing a toy cart. For a moment, Gollum sees himself as a boy centuries ago on another riverbank. He trembles. He could do it. He could dart out, bite that soft ankle, let Sauron taste their blood and souls. He inches forward, then he hears, over the hedge, a voice, Sam Gamgee's voice, as real in memory as in life. Take care now, little un. Don't go too far. There's still boggy bits down by the water. It is only memory. Sam is not there, yet it arrests him. He crouches, shivering, torn between the pull of the ring and some last scrap-sized reluctance. Rain begins to fall, thin and chilly. It soaks into his skin, washes a bit of Mordor's ash away. He backs into shadow. Behind his eyes the eye blazes. Coward, comes the whip. You failed me with the Bagginses. You fail me now. Perhaps I should take my ring back and be done with you. Panic, greater than any he has ever known, floods him. He clutches his finger, as if physically holding the ring in place. No, he screeches silently. We serves! We serves! Don't takes it! He scrabbles away, fleeing the Shire's border like a whipped cur. He never enters. The Shire remains unmarked. Somewhere, in Barad-dûr, Sauron's lip curls. Yet the ring, though it seethes at Gollum's. Cowardice has learned, if it is to find a new hand, perhaps it must maneuver itself nearer the west, nearer those who would think to use it against its maker. In the night, as Gollum sleeps in a hollow log far from prying eyes, the ring murmurs to itself. If rings can plot, it plots. There comes at last a second knot. It is many years later still. Gray hairs streak Aragorn's temples. Eldarion is a young man, tall and grave, riding patrols with the Dunedain. Faramir's hair is silver. Éowyn's eyes are lined at the corners from both laughter and worry. Legolas and Gimli have led companies east and west, to Ithilion's forests, and to Aglaron's glittering caves. The war has not ended. It has settled into a long, grinding hold. No side has achieved total victory, yet strain shows. In Minas Tirith's circles, people grumble more openly. Why are the taxes so high? Why must so many sons go to garrison far marches when no great battles are fought? Is the king truly wise or stubborn? In Harad, princes chafe at Sauron's constant demands for tribute and troops. In Khand, new warlords arise who question whether the eye is as powerful as legend says, since the West still stands. In Barad-dûr, Sauron, who has unlearned nothing of patience, takes stock. He has regained the ring, but not upon his own hand. He has gained a spy network and subtle influence, but his raw war machine is weaker, worn by constant raids and attrition. He has destroyed no major capital of his foes. He has terrified them, sapped their ease. He wants more. He wants something that will break wills quickly, not millennia from now. He turns his eye inward. He considers Frodo and Sam once more. What if, he wonders, there were a way to twist them into symbols not of resistance, but of despair? To parade them before the West as broken things, to show that even their greatest heroes have bowed? He summons Gollum. He summons the hobbits. The scene in the lower hall repeats, but its tension is greater. This time, Sauron's voice is hot with barely leashed frustration. "You will speak to them, little rats," he tells Frodo and Sam. "You will tell them to lay down arms. You will say the battle is hopeless. Then perhaps I will let you live out your short, pitiful lives in some corner of my realm." "No," Frodo says simply. Sam adds for good measure, "You can stick your perhaps where the sun never shines." Gollum snickers despite himself, then claps a hand over his mouth. Sauron's gaze swings toward him. "You find this amusing?" the Lord of the Rings asks, very softly. Gollum quails. "No, master, never. We only—" "They's funny, yes, funny, hobbits is. Always making jokes, always. He trails off, because a wild thought has just leapt in him. They always make jokes, even here, even now. They do not bow. He bows every day. "Why do you fight him?" he blurts suddenly, looking at Frodo. "He could makes the world dark and safe. No more sun, no more nasty bright. Why you not just gives in? It's easier." Frodo looks at him. In that gaze for a moment, Gollum sees not accusation, but pity. "We fight because we can," Frodo answers, "because someone must. Because if we lie down now, there will be no one left to remember that things were ever different. And I will not give him that. He can have my body if he must, but not my choice," Sam adds, eyes bright. "And because I promised I'd see the Shire again, even if it's just in a dream." The ring flares. It feels those words, choice, promise, dream. They echo its Niran-making, its humiliation at the brink of the fire. Sauron's voice deepens. "You will see nothing," he says, and reaches. This time, his reaching is not a probe, but an attempt to break. He pours will into their minds, hammering at memory, at identity. He wants to snap something, to see them shatter. Gandalf in Minas Tirith stiffens as if struck. Galadriel staggers on her flet. Elrond gasps by the sea. They all feel it, a mighty blow directed at two very small, very stubborn souls. They cannot block it. They can only, in their distant ways, send a breath of support. Sam feels very faintly the smell of Athelas. Frodo feels very faintly the touch of Bilbo's hand on his hair. It is enough. They do not break. They scream. They fall. They curl in on themselves, but when Sauron's pressure relents, panting through no lungs, they are still there. Breathing, I think, Frodo croaks with a bloodied smile. You lose again. Gollum stares. Something shakes loose in him. He sees, in one dizzying rush, all the times he has bowed, begged, obeyed, all the moments he twisted truth for fear and love of the ring, all the times he could have chosen otherwise. Could he? Truly, perhaps not. But the question bites. The ring on his finger pulses, angry at his doubt. Sauron feels that too. His attention for a fatal instant splits, half on crushing these two gnats, half on tightening his grip on his unwilling servant. In that instant, the ring sees a crack. It pushes. Call it fate, or the last echo of Eris themes, or simply the mathematics of pressure and fracture. Something gives. The ring's will, Sauron's will, Gollum's thin, torn will. They collide hard enough to send a shudder through the unseen world. Gollum screams aloud. The ring flares white-hot on his bone-thin finger. It is not destruction. It is displacement. The metal leaps. It vanishes from Gollum's hand. Not to crumble, not to melt, but to appear for a heartbeat hanging in the air between Sauron's forming, armored hand and Frodo's broken body. Both reach for it. Sauron's shadow hand stretches, vast and cold. Frodo's bound hands twitch, helpless, yet his eyes lock on it with a horrified longing. Sam, dazed on the floor, sees it too. For one moment, the world holds its breath again, as it did years ago at the edge of the fire. This time, there is no chasm to fall into. There is only choice. Frodo does not move. He cannot. He also does not speak. Inside his mind, in a place pushed beyond pain, he feels the ring's call and a deeper echo ringing back through his life. I will take the ring, though I do not know the way. He cannot take it again. He squeezes his eyes shut. Sam, he whispers very softly, so softly no orc hears. If you can, don't touch it. Sam, who once bore it and saw himself made terrible, sees now the ring hang just out of reach. He knows, in a flood, that if he could somehow dart up and seize it, he might do something, hurl himself over the edge of the dais, bite it, swallow it, anything to get it away. His muscles twitch, then he hears Frodo's voice. He remembers his own vision. He lies still. Sauron's hand closes. The ring drops into it at last. Metal meets shadow flesh. Completeness slams through the Dark Lord like a star igniting. He roars, not in triumph only, but in rage and relief and something akin to ecstasy. Armor clatters as he solidifies, his form swelling, lines sharpening. No longer must he filter will through Gollum's cramped mind. No longer must he share. Gollum collapses, shriveled hand clutching at empty air. He feels hollowed. He has lost it at last. His precious. His eyes roll white. A sound like wind through a dead marsh issues from his throat. No, he gurgles. No, he crumples at Sauron's feet, forgotten. In that forgetting lies a strange, tiny mercy. Sauron stands now fully incarnate for the first time since the Second Age, a great, black-clad figure wreathed in power, the ring blazing on his gauntleted finger. The eye no longer hovers above Barad-dûr as a separate thing. It burns within his helm, within his gaze. He looks down at Frodo and Sam. "You have lost," he says. He is not wrong. The last frail possibility that the ring might be destroyed by mortal will, has guttered. He need not toy with them now. He can end them. He lifts his hand. In Minas Tirith, Gandalf staggers, clutching his chest. It is done, he whispers to Aragorn, who stands beside him upon the wall, watching the east. He has taken it back fully. Aragorn's breath leaves him. He grips the battlement so hard his fingers ache. What remains? He asks, voice raw. Galadriel feels it too. In that moment, Nenya on her hand burns with answering fire, as if a long suppressed chord has been struck. She sees with clarity, cruel and sharp, what could happen now. Sauron, untrammeled, sweeping armies forth, his will pressing down like a lid on all green things. Elrond at the havens bows his head. The sea whispers. It is over, he says, voice hollow. Yet the world does not end in fire that day. Sauron could spread his power forth like a growing storm, but even with the ring, he must still move through the chessboard of space and time. His armies must march, his plagues must seep, his dominion must be asserted, enforced, maintained. He chooses, in his first act, as fully restored Lord of the Rings, not to melt Gondor's walls in a tide of unmaking, but to savor. He kills neither Frodo nor Sam. He keeps his earlier promise in the most twisted way. You will watch, he says, and binds them in a new fashion, not in chains of iron, but of mind. He laces their senses to his will, so that whenever he turns his eye upon some act of conquest, they see it too. When a village in Rohan burns, Sam smells the smoke. When a grove in Ithilien withers, Frodo feels the sap leave. They are, in his court, living barometers of despair. They last longer than they should. Hobbits are tough. Years pass. Sauron moves. With the ring fully his next campaigns are brutal. He sends a hammer blow at Osgiliath and Minas Tirith, testing their walls with new strange sorceries that crack stone and unmake mortar. The White City holds, but its outermost circles crumble, its lower tiers flooded with refugees driven up and up. He sends a spear thrust north, through the gap of Rohan, skirting Isengard's ruins, into the lands of the Beornings and Dale. Dwarves and men fight, axes ringing on Orchelm and on stranger metals forged in Barad-dûr. Elves intervene where they can. Legolas leads a band from Ithilien to flank, to harry, to ambush. He sees men of Harad fighting alongside orcs, eyes glazed with some new terror-driven loyalty. He shoots, and each arrow is a prayer, not for his foes, but for those they might have been. Gimli falls at last in one such clash, not in a great hall under a mountain, but on a rain-slick hill beside a nameless copse of trees somewhere east of the Anduin. He takes 3 orcs and a troll with him. Legolas kneels beside his body, hand on his friend's bloody beard, and sings a rough, broken song in Sindarin and Khuzdul mixed. Gandalf sees this, though he is leagues away, standing upon Minas Tirith's wall, staff blazing to repel a wave of shadow. The world constricts, hope in the great sweeping sense fades, yet in small pockets, stubborn lights refuse to go out. In the Shire, Rosie Cotton tells stories to children by the fire of a cousin named Sam, who went away. She does not know if he lives, but she speaks of him as if he might return, because to do otherwise would be to admit the shadow into her snug kitchen. In Rohan, a girl with Éowyn's hair and Faramir's eyes trains with a wooden sword under the watchful gaze of old riders. She dreams not of glory, but of holding fast a line so her younger siblings can reach the caves. In Lorien, Galadriel stands at the border as black clouds at last roll thick overhead. Orcs gather at the eaves in numbers they have not mustered there before. Above them, a shape more terrible than any Balrog looms, for Sauron himself has come to oversee this wood's finishing. He lifts his hand, ring gleaming. She lifts hers, Nenya glinting cold. Their wills clash. It is not a duel of lightsabers or thunderbolts, but of roots and sky, of memory and forgetfulness. She sends through Nenya all her love for these trees, for the simple singing of rivers, for the laughter that once rang through Karas Galadhorn's high halls. She recalls Valinor's light and pours a sliver of it into this one place. Sauron presses down with the totality of his purpose. He wants this wood broken not only to deny his enemies a refuge, but to erase a witness to an age when he was not Lord. The ground shudders. Malorn leaves blacken at the edges. Orcs raise torches. In Barada, Frodo doubles over, clutching his chest. Sam groans. They see Lorien's light flicker and strain. "Hold," Sam whispers, though no sound crosses leagues. "Please hold." Galadriel holds as long as she can. In the end, she is not Eru. She is a memory of the West, and memory can be burned. Lorien falls, not in a day, not in an hour, but in a drawn-out season of ash. Some elves escape, others fall with arrows in their backs, with songs on their lips. The grass goes gray. The springs turn brackish. Galadriel uses what remaining power she has not to blast the orcs, but to shroud some fleeing children in a last delusion, making them pass unseen. Then she lets Nenya fade. The ring upon her hand turns dull. She feels an emptiness rush in, not of sorrow only, but of release. "It is done," she says, and walks into the oncoming fire. Far to the west, in Círdan's havens, Elrond feels Nenya's light go out. He makes his choice. He gathers those still with him, elves who have lingered unsure, and leads them aboard the ships. They depart at last. They do not do so in joy. They do it as those abandoning a burning house not all their own. The wakes of their ships glimmer in the gray sea under a lowering sky. Middle-earth is emptier without them. Men must stand or fall alone. In Minas Tirith, Aragorn feels this emptiness too. He looks at Arwen and sees in her eyes the grief of a people leaving. "You could have gone," he says once, in the quiet between sieges. "I chose not to," she answers. "I will bear this to the end, whatever it is, with you." Her choice in this world is heavier even than in the one we know. She has bound herself not to a man whose people will see a bright age, but to one fighting a rearguard action against a tide that may not be turned. The tide rises. Sauron's dominion spreads across maps. He does not lay waste every land utterly. He is not stupid. He knows a field salted yields no grain. He wants tribute, slaves, crafts, knowledge. He wants time. He has always had it. Under his rule, some things continue. Markets bustle in cities that kneel. Children are born. Songs are sung, even songs praising the Dark Lord's might, for fear or fanaticism. Eldarion grows into kingship under siege. He walks walls where his father once walked, his cloak whipped by a harsher wind. He knows Frodo and Sam only as tales and as occasional, cruel images sent by Sauron across the sky as warnings. "See what becomes of those who defy me." In Barad-dûr, the hobbits endure. They are old by then, even for their kind. Their hair is white, their hands thin and veined, their backs bent. Their eyes, however, have not gone dull. If anything, they are brighter, lit by some inward fire. They have seen Lorien fall, Dol Amroth's banner change from swanship to red-eye, Rohan's plain scarred by endless hooves under foreign banners. They have also seen, with quiet, secret joy, small acts Sauron did not attend to, a farmer in Ithilien who risks beatings to plant a hidden patch of beans by a stream, a captain of Harad who spares Gondorian prisoners secretly against orders. A dwarf child in Erebor who scratches an 8-pointed star into a wall, a symbol of old hope. The world has not gone entirely dark. One day, when Sam's hands can barely lift bread to his mouth, he turns to Frodo in the dim cell they now rarely leave. "You remember that talking fox?" he asks, suddenly out of nowhere. Frodo blinks. "On the road out of the Shire," he says slowly. "When we first set out, you said something about what the fox would think, seeing 3 hobbits sleeping under a hedge." "Aye," Sam chuckles weakly. "Wonder what he'd say if he saw us now." "Probably that we look like we've been dragged backward through 3 ages," Frodo replies, a ghost of mischief in his tone. Sam laughs until it turns into a cough. Sauron does not listen to their cell chat anymore. He has grown bored. He has also grown, if such a term can be applied to a being of will and malice, lazy in victory. The ring on his finger has dulled the edge of his old fear. The near loss at Mount Doom is decades past now. What scar it left has been layered over with triumphs. Kings have knelt, elves have fled, dwarves have signed treaties. He turns more of his attention to rearranging beauty in his own dark fashion, building new spires, carving monuments to his victories, commissioning music that praises his wisdom in minor keys. Gollum is long gone. After the ring left him, he dwindled. He skulked in corners of Barad-dûr for a while, mewling. He was used once or twice as a plaything for bored orcs. Then one day, he slipped through a crack and did not return. He may have died in some forgotten tunnel. He may have crawled horribly back to the misty mountains to curl around old memories. No one marks his passing. He was, in the end, a spark that jumped in many directions and burned no forest. Frodo and Sam feel their own endings near. They are not offered a ship into the west. No fair boat will come to Barad-dûr's grim quay. They will die in this tower, if they die at all. Sam's hands tremble. "Mr. Frodo," he says one night, voice thin, "if I don't wake some morning, you mind the Shire for me, in here." He taps his own temple with a shaking finger. "Keep it green. Don't let it go gray inside you, hear?" Frodo reaches across a small space and takes his hand. "I promise," he whispers. "And if I go first, you plant a garden on my grave in your heart." Sam smiles, tears leaking sideways into his hair. "Deal," he murmurs, and drifts into uneasy sleep. In the world outside, a new sun rises on a land mostly under one banner. Fields are sown, taxes are collected, men kneel when the eye's image flashes on high towers. Children in some places learn to lisp Sauron's praises before their letters, yet in the cracks, resistors endure. In the Druiden forest, Woses fade from sight, whispering in their own tongue of a time when the big folks' towers will be empty again. In the deeps of Fangorn, Treebeard hums ancient songs, his leaves sighing under a sky dimmed by ash. He did not march to war in this world's Pelennor, did not play his part in felling Isengard, for events diverged before that summons. He has slept longer, watched more. He is in no hurry. Many things there are that Sauron has forgotten, he rumbles. Few he has truly known. He knows of roots that run deeper than Barad-dûr's foundations. He knows of seeds that can lie dormant for ages until the right rain falls. He knows that even a world held in the fist of a tyrant can, in the fullness of time, slip out, eroding stone finger by finger. He will not see it, nor will Gandalf, the wizard, after holding the line as long as he can, after spending Narya's last warmth to hearten warriors at one final hopeless stand, at last is recalled. Whether by the Valar's pity or by some older claim, his spirit travels west along a path no ship sails. Aragorn dies, not in peace in a kingly bed surrounded by grandchildren, as in the tale we know, but on a field near Osgiliath, sword in hand, covered in the blood of orcs and men. Eldarion takes up Andúril from his dead father's side and lifts it, arm shaking, voice cracking, as he cries for men to rally. Arwen in Minas Tirith feels his death like a light going out. She goes soon after, fading in a high chamber where once she wove a banner. There is no Karen Amroth to lie down upon. She lies instead in a small garden in the 6th circle, under a sapling of the white tree. Her grave is unmarked by her own wish. Eldarion rules on. His reign is not one of golden peace, but of ember keeping. He holds what he can, the inner circles of Minas Tirith, a strip of land along the Anduin, a few allied holds. He makes treaties with local Sauronian governors to lessen the cruelty of their taxes. He leads what rebellions he can, not to topple the Dark Lord, but to shield villages from the worst. He knows of Frodo and Sam only as vague, mythic figures suffering somewhere in the tower. He sometimes looks east and whispers thanks. At last, in a dim cell, Sam Gamgee does not wake. His breath goes out like a candle's last flicker. It goes quietly, not in torment, for Sauron has not wasted effort on him in long years. It goes with a small smile, a memory of rosy hanging sheets in a bright, impossible wind. Frodo wakes to cold stillness at his side. He knows before he looks. He takes Sam's hand, now loose and cooling, and presses it to his own brow. He sits that way for a long time. No orc comes, no eye turns, no one at all in Barad-dûr marks the passing of the hobbit whose stubbornness once baffled their lord. Somewhere far away, a rose bush in the Shire blooms a little brighter that spring. Frodo lasts a little longer. He mourns, he remembers, he keeps the Shire green in his mind as he promised. He hears, faintly in dreams, Bilbo's voice reciting poetry, Elrond's grave counsel, Gandalf's chuckling admonitions. He hears Sam's muttered plant lore, Merry's jokes, Pippin's songs. He holds all of it one day, if days can still be counted in that timeless dark. His own breath comes shorter. He lies down, one hand still wrapped around Sam's, the other upon his own chest where the ring once lay. There is no metal under his fingers now, only scar and bone. He looks up. Through a crack in the stone, a thin line of light slants. It might be dawn, it might be dusk. He cannot tell. He smiles faintly. "I am glad you are with me, Samwise Gamgee," he whispers, though Sam cannot hear. Here, at the end of all things, he closes his eyes. He goes. In the wide world, nothing obvious changes that day. Sauron's banners still fly. Taxes are still collected. Children still go to their lessons. Some learning to read from primers that praise the eye, others from tattered lore books hidden in cellars. Yet something very small, very stubborn, has left Barad-dûr, an echo of choice, a story. In Fongorn, Treebeard pauses mid-hum and tilts his head. "Room," he says softly, "a candle out, but the dark has not one, no, not altogether." In the Shire, an old hobbit questions why their grain requisitions have increased. He writes a petition in a surprisingly firm hand, citing ancient rites and customs. The local man who enforces Mordor's law frowns, reading it, and for the first time doubts the justice of some orders. In Minas Tirith, on a high balcony, Eldarion stands watching east. He will live and die under Sauron's shadow. His children may too. Perhaps their children will not. Perhaps, in some far age, long after rings and Iron Tower have crumbled, someone will find a brown, faded book in a hidden drawer. It will tell of two small folk who walked into fire, and did not succeed, yet who also did not entirely fail, because they held on, because they chose, because they remembered gardens and songs when a dark will wanted them to see only ash. We end not upon a battlefield or a throne, but in a quiet, forgotten cell long after bones have turned to dust. The chains are rusted through, bars lean inward. Through the crack where Frodo once saw that last slant of light, a seed carried on some errant wind has lodged. Years pass, it sprouts. In the deepest pit of Barad-dûr, under ceilings once black with smoke, a thin, pale shoot stretches toward a light it cannot see, because reaching is what it was made for.